also will sometimes just have to watch. Because, I mean, you want to warn people, don't go in there. And it's like, we can't do that, but yeah, it's very difficult.
And as far as, are we afraid to confront?
Are we?
Yeah,
I was afraid.
But do you need to?
Sometimes you do. And it depends on how. So when we say confront, meaning you have some thoughts and feelings, concerns, something you saw, and it has to be addressed. And it's how do we address it? But are we afraid to? Absolutely, it's dangerous. We're talking about power, influence, the person, that old saying about the person with the microphone has the power. They can say anything they want to say to influence groups of people. That was scary for me.
I mean, I did confront it.
Yeah.
Particularly with the pastor.
Yeah.
And it was just at a point where I just said, I just don't think that this is working for me.
Yeah.
So
that was a private conversation you had with him.
It was more of not pointing out what they're doing wrong so much as I just don't like what is going on, and therefore this isn't working for me in my soul.
Yeah.
So I
and how was his response?
I mean, of course he was, kind of saying, well, maybe you should do things to help fix it. And I said, well, I tried.
Right.
And it was turned away. So it's either people aren't liking what I'm saying, or they just don't like me.
Right. It's not going to ever trickle out. I don't care if it's a church, a school, a business. It's never going to trickle out.
Right. Yeah. And there were other things, of course, that were going on, particularly with dealing with him. But I didn't want to point that, those things out to him directly. But I just said, as far as what I'm receiving here is the ministry and the word and the things of that nature. It's just not fulfilling my spirit.
Yeah. It's dangerous. So we all know so many incidents. It could be executive. You have the overseer. I don't know what that means. What is that? But okay. Bishops. You have leaders, you have church mafias, where just like The Godfather, it's in the church. Cults, we've all heard different stories of how groups of people were influenced by maybe one or two people. Congregational, like you were saying, how how we say we're ostracized groups control the leaders. So there's one church that I went to. They wanted the trustees and the deacons and whomever. They all wanted the pastor to preach in a white suit on the second Sunday. Why? I don't know, but he did it. But that was weird. They're controlling him. And it's also familial because churches are full of families. It's the whole family. It's the mom, the dad, the sisters, the brothers, the children, and it's relational. Friends that used to be friends. I still have friends that are still in some pretty unhealthy churches. It's relational. It affects you emotionally, mentally. You think you're crazy? Like, wait a minute. Did I just see that? Did that just happen? Am I going to confront this? Mental. There's a lot of stress and grief involved. Spiritual, obviously, it causes you sometimes. I know for me, I had a crisis of faith. Like, Lord, are you really, really real? Financial, obviously, you're sowing into the church. You're using your finances. And then the fact that churches are also organizations that have to, operate as businesses. All of these things are intertwined. Psychological. Made to be felt like you're actually the problem. Physical, you have health issues come from these. I know for me, I didn't have ulcers, but I used to have severe pain in my abdomen. Some Sundays after leaving church, and I didn't connect it until I actually left, and I was like, wow, my stomach doesn't hurt anymore. Like, this is really affecting me. And then there's the whole dynamic of power and control. Who are the victims? That's all of us. Men against men, women against women. men against women, women against men, boys, girls, unborn children, LGBTQIA. And the reason I included that particular demographic is because, for whatever reason, the church has a way of already making them feel bad, wrong, like scum, and then abuse. I mean, you've heard so many stories of this particular man or this particular woman has slept with this particular identifiable demographic, you know, because you're married, you're straight, but you slept with someone who's LGBTQIA. No one knows about it, but you're doing these freaky things, and you're supposed to be a leader in the church, a member in the church. You know, that is dangerous.
And you're speaking against it in pulpit.
Exactly, and we see it on the news all the time. So now you're running for office, and now you're passing all these laws, and now you're talking so bad about the LGBTQIA community and how they're going to hell, but then you phone boning them, texting them, sleeping with them, sneaking with them. This is dangerous. This is definitely the kingdom of darkness.
Can I add to that this is, so I'm a survivor of church hurt.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact that was enemy, Satan, satanic design to take me out.
Right.
It was designed to make me, I learned in that, like there is, you know how it says a thin line between love and hate? I think there is a thin line between sanity and insanity.
Yeah.
And I was going to break.
Yeah.
And it was designed to keep me out of the body of Christ, to
Yeah.
get me away from Jesus Christ. It
Yeah.
was designed, like the victims, our eternities
That's right.
are on the line with that.
That's right.
Like that is the magnitude of it.
Mhm.
This is Satan trying to keep our names out of the Lamb's Book
Mhm.
of Life.
Mm-hmm. And I just remember, you know, two people in the church, same-sex people, had some private incidents, and not only were they wounded, but the way it was handled wounded everybody else, you know? And absolutely, the enemy has a field day in these situations. It was like we lit the fire and then he just gassed it up. So we talk about power and control, and it's not limited to just physical abuse. There's the whole aspect of how technology, how when you try to there's a lot of apps and secrets and things that are going on telephones. There's obviously the physical abuse, any type of threat to harm you or your family. There's the economic abuse, emotional, psychological. Like I said, it makes you think like you're crazy. Like, wait a minute, is this really happening? Is this really true? Am I really thinking this? Am I really feeling this? Did I see what I saw? You know, and you're being intimidated. As severe as sexual assault or coercion. You know, oftentimes you hear about a certain person, you know, they're married and then they were sleeping with someone, and usually there's always an aggressor. There's always an aggressor. You're coercing the person. You can't say that this person that you coerced is at fault. Well, she got pregnant, now the whole church is mad at her. Well, why are you mad at her? You know, isolation. You know, you see situations where, you know, they live on a compound and it's just them. Or like you say.
In the Bible.
What'd you say, Mom?
I said, you got well read in the Bible.
Oh. Thank
Much
you.
more than I am.
I don't think so, but thank you. You see situations where it's a clique, it's them versus us. You know, I remember being in a setting where there was a new leader in the church, and the whole church was like, oh, we're going to take them out to dinner, we're going to do this, do that. Well, that should have been a church-wide fellowship. Like, why wasn't everybody invited? And then when people questioned it, they got angry. And it's like, well, why are you turning this around on me? Why are you getting mad at me? I just wanted to go to Golden Corral with y'all and meet the person, meet the family. Like, why wasn't I called? Why wasn't I told? And then jealousy, you know, oftentimes using jealousy as an excuse, you know, tactics to control. And then sometimes they make light of it. Well, you wore that to church, so that caused this, or well, you are to blame, or putting some of the responsibility and blaming you. One of the terms that I use is gaslighting. I despise gaslighting. That's like I'm coming to you saying, you know, I really have some concerns. I see this is happening. Da, da, da. Well, did you do that? Well, I think that was your fault. You know, how are you going to turn this back around on me? I'm the person who's telling you something isn't right. And that's a clear sign of unhealthy spiritual environment. So how do we avoid this? I don't know if we can. We can certainly be wise, but I would say boundaries. You know the things that are best for you and how your world should operate and what's contained in your world. Self-examination, like, wait a minute. You know, sometimes we just operating on autopilot. So we're not even really thinking. We have to look at ourselves. Accountability. I have this thing on my phone called Find Friends. Every moment, whether I'm in the country or somewhere else, there's at least one person that knows where I am all the time. That's just what I think is wise. Accountability. Be discerning. You know, sometimes, you know, in church we can feel zealous. Oh, I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord, and we're marching on. But sometimes we have to really, really stop and be discerning. So if someone could pull up these two scriptures. We have Psalm 105. And 1 Chronicles. Psalm 105, verse 15. We've all heard this in one context or another. Touch not my anointed ones, do my prophets no harm. 1 Chronicles 16.